Hey, what's up guys? John from Mongo Fishing, and today I'm here on the Monster Bass channel to talk to you guys about fall worm fishing. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so like I said, my name is John from Mongo Fishing, and this is the Monster Bass channel. Now, if you are wanting to learn tips and techniques and how to become a better bass angler, make sure you hit that subscribe button right down there along with the bell notification button so you get notified every single time Monster Bass comes out with another video. My channel, Mongo Fishing, will be linked down in the description below. I'm primarily a tournament bass fisherman. I don't really go out and do much fun fishing per se. So my content is mostly tournament footage, but it's honest tournament footage. Whether I do well or if I suck, I still put the video out. So if you want to see success along with failure, then come check my channel out. I dig it. But let's get into fall worm fishing. All right guys, so like I said, I'm primarily a tournament angler. And so fall worm fishing isn't a primary technique that I do. It's a backup technique that I do. My primary techniques this time of year are, crankbaits and chatterbaits and buzz baits and spinner baits and just fast moving stuff, right? I'm fishing for reaction bites. And honestly, that's primarily what I do year round. I'm not out there to catch 30 fish. I'm out there to catch my best 5. So catching a mess of 1-pounders doesn't really do me much good. If I catch 5 1-pounders and then start culling up, that's what does me good. So worm fishing, for me, most of the time is a backup. It's not a primary. There are times that it does become a primary, but that's normally in 2-day tournaments. But we're going to get into what the stuff that I do in fall worm fishing, and maybe you can pick something up. All right, guys. So the first thing I do with any worm fishing, regardless of the time of year, is I want to learn what that worm looks like underwater. Okay, so I grabbed an old fish tank out of the garage, threw it on the boat here so you guys can see, and I have a couple worms tied on. I have the KVD Perfect Plastic Fat Baby Finesse that came in this month's bag, and then I have a Castaic, the CBT5. It's another 5-inch, so similar size bait as this Fat Baby Finesse. And I want to show you guys again the stuff that I pay attention to. I want to see what the worm does in a fish tank so that I can visualize what it's doing underwater. Because just what you think it's doing may not be what it's actually doing. So I tied on a random shaky head and a random Ned rig head to show you guys that depending on the type of worm you're using, you may get different reactions out of your bait. So some baits are neutrally buoyant and they want to stand up. See how long that's taken to fall down? And then it's just kind of hovering right there. There's no air trapped in it. Okay, so as you're using that bait, that's a round head. That's just like a round shaky head. That's nothing special. But you notice that thing kind of stayed upright. The Fat Baby Finesse, this is on a Ned head. Did the same thing, it's hovering. That's on a head that's supposed to make it stand straight up. Okay, and that's because this is a salted bait, so it's gonna want to fall down faster. If you had something like one of these huge worms that came in this month's bag, I don't have one of these rigged up, but these things are just going to sink like a stone and lay flat on the bottom. Know what your bait is going to do underwater. Play with it. You can do that next to the boat, do it next to the dock, whatever, and just try to figure out what it's doing, what it looks like, so you can visualize what it's doing underwater. All right, so where I'm going to throw it. Again, these are not primary techniques for me. So normally I'm out burning the bank down, whatever, trying to find bites. If I can't do that, then I fall back on this technique. So I'm going to do this as I'm moving around docks and stuff. I'm paying attention. I'm marking brush piles that are off the ends of docks, you know, road beds, stuff like that, right? You know, the water temp is dropping and they're pushing shad and all that fun stuff back in the creeks, but they're going to still want to be around hard cover most of the time, with the exception of those frogfish, and that's a whole another beast. But they're going to want to be around wood. They're going to want to be around rock. So I'm looking for road beds. I'm looking for brush piles. I'm looking for stuff like that, and then I adjust my worm based on what I have. If I'm working a brush pile, I'm probably going to Texas rig it. If I'm working you know, a rocky shoreline or something like that, or old road beds or whatever, I'm probably going to put it on a shaky head. And regardless, I'm working it painfully slow. I'm not a big fan of trying to work a worm fast. There's no point. I've already slowed down to work this thing, to pick something apart. I'm just going to work it slow. So with that said, yep, I will occasionally hop it, as you saw me playing around with the string or whatever. Yep, I will occasionally hop it with my rod to get it to do that, right? But other times, I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm just going to slowly move the rod tip back, and I'm dragging and counting rocks, basically. I'm just moving this thing ever so slowly, and it's going to get stuck on rocks. I just pop it real quick, and then slowly start dragging again, get stuck in a rock, pop it again real quick. Because I figured, again, if I have to slow down this much to fish this worm, I'm going to fish it thoroughly. Spot lock the Phoenix, or power pull down, or whatever I'm trying to do for that situation, whether I'm deep or shallow or whatever, and then fish that area thoroughly. Rod, reel, line, all that fun stuff. Okay. The reel is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really matter on your reel speed, because this is a painfully slow technique anyway. So your reel speed's kind of irrelevant. But your rod, you're going to want to use either a spinning rod, if you're a spinning rod sort of person, or a jerkbait rod, or, you know, a medium at the heaviest, a medium fast. A medium light fast is probably better, and again, a spinning rod, something like that is probably your best technique. I unfortunately can't pull my rods out to show you. I mean, I have two rigged up right now, because I will always have one rigged up. Like I said, it's not a primary technique, but I'll always have one rigged up. And I have two rigged up right now, but they're in my rod locker, and I put the fish tank on top of them, so there's no way I can get them out. But again, I have one rigged on a jerkbait rod and one rigged on my spinning rod, and different colors. I think I have a Senko on one and a shaky head on the other. So a Senko is the other technique for fall worm fishing, but honestly, a Senko is a year-round worm fishing. Again, it's painfully slow. Texas rig it. You can put it on a shaky head. Again, you need to know what your stick worm does. Is it heavy salted? Because if it is, it's going to sink like a stone. If it's neutrally buoyant, a Z-Man product, Castaic products, stuff like that, robo worms, they're all pretty neutrally buoyant. Some of them even float, and so that helps you figure out, it's going to make your worm stand straight up versus just laying down and dragging across the bottom where you think it's standing up. Guys, hopefully that answers some questions. I mean, this is a quick video because it's a quick topic. It's not complicated at all. I mean, shaky heads are probably one of the easiest things to throw. And again, it's not the only way to rig a worm for fall fishing, but if you have to slow down and throw a worm, you should probably be throwing a finesse sort of worm, at least in my opinion, and not a giant worm. But to each their own. Maybe you're a guy or a girl who likes to throw giant worms. I'm not, so that's why I don't do it. All right, guys, one more thing, and that's calculating your sink rate. Now, how do you calculate your sink rate? So, again, I don't have my rod because it's in the rod locker. So calculate your sink rate by, you have say a 7-foot rod, for example, right? And you have a shaky head tied on. You want to hang that shaky head, point your rod straight up and down, and hang that shaky head all the way down at the butt of the rod. You're going to dangle it over the water and drop it so your rod tip touches the water, and so it's just nothing but slack line for that shaky head sinking down. You're going to count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, whatever, until your line comes tight. Then you know 7-foot rod, took 4 seconds for that line to come tight. So you're like, okay, well, it took, 4 seconds for it to sink 7 feet. So just for simple math purposes, we'll say that you're sinking 2 feet a second. And then that way, whatever depth you're fishing, how long it should take for your bait to reach the bottom, to reach that brush pile, to reach whatever you're trying to flip around. Hopefully that answers some questions, guys. Hopefully you can put some of this stuff to use, catch some more fish. Again, if you're new to the Monster Bass channel, please hit the subscribe button right down there along with the bell notification button so you get notified every single time Monster Bass puts out another video. Again, my channel, Mongo Fishing, be linked in the description. I'd dig it if you came over and check me out. Again, guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, get on the water, be safe, and go catch a monster bass.